that one is okay. It's nothing special, but there's worse on this list. So yeah, let's go with that. Uh, so
There's worse on this
uh,
list. that sounds that sounds that sounds like another Dead Pixel episode.
hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who's always up there to buy the newest piece of tech at the exorbitant prices, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. I just yeah, I'm excited to spend $2,500 on the new Nvidia card, the 5090. Um, I'm just
It's only 2 grand, bro. Don't
but
worry. It's only 2 grand
but
if you get it laid
but
out day one.
I watched the videos, and MSRP is one thing. Last time it was like $500 more in actuality, or maybe that's what it's selling for now. Which maybe that's probably even more than it. And maybe these are the highest prices. I don't know, but I'm probably
Get the
but
founders edition. That's all you need.
realistically, that thing is going to be what 21, 2200 on Amazon or whatever. Probably pretty close to 25. I that wouldn't be something is gonna it's gonna be priced somewhere for that much. But yeah, I always buy. That's why I have 30 maxed out credit cards because I have a bunch of Radeon cards I don't even use. I just use them as cup holders because I just got to have the newest one. So yeah, that's what I like to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, the new stuff is coming out. Comes out on next week, Thursday, the 30th. So exciting times. Once again, I part of me just wants to get it just to get it. I don't have a 4K current display that will really utilize. So I'm like, that's my one saving grace. I'm like, okay, I only got 1440p decent monitors, but I don't have
I
my
mean,
4K TV is
okay,
an OLED, but doesn't have the VR. It's not HDMI 2.1, so I'm good there. I'm like, all right, I don't need 4K.
okay. So obviously the 5080 is gonna be better bang for your buck. In terms of like just the overall value and time and stuff like that. But it's like if you had a 5090, how long would it take for you to go under basically? Let's be generous and let's say the X060 card, whatever that ends up being later. So I mean, it would probably like how long until the 60 card out is essentially better than that.
Well, if you're going down to the 60s, you're probably looking at least 3 generations. Would be my guess. So,
So I'm like
for
six
example, if you
years
had
and
the
at the very smallest, like minimum, I would think it'd probably be good for probably 8 years before. But
well, it depends on what you mean. Well, as far as the 60 capability, that's where you're like, would you still be able to use the card? In like the 90 series card 8 years from now, yes. But I think with what would the new AI technology and stuff like that, realistically, for example, if you had the 3090, um, not really knowing what the 50 series, 3090, so 40, 50, when the 6060 comes out, I would say, the 6060 would probably be better than the 3090. Um, that would be my, equivalent is, rough estimation there. I'm still running the 3080. That will still do me good. Uh, but I could use a refresh. Yeah. I mean, the new technology is really nice. Some new ray tracing and all that glorious, look, but can I still play the games? Yes. I can play them in my piddly standard definition at, medium and high settings. A lot of the games still high settings are fine.
yeah,
So there's, it's just a matter of how much extras do you want on top? You still get a full meal, you just don't get a lot of the side dishes.
and then and then too, I think if you had a system or you didn't mind the hassle of pulling the old card out and selling it basically every time there's a new card. I mean, because if you weren't too rough on your card, it's like I didn't mind crypto with it or anything like that. I just played games on it and you could log the hours or whatever somehow. How like you could probably get 30% pretty easily, I imagine, of the initial cost back. So let's just say it's 2400. Let's just say it's that, just for ease of use. So like 30% of 2400 is going to be what, like $800. So if you could use the 5090 for a couple years and then get $800 out of it after that, so basically you've paid 1600 for it for a couple years or whatever. I mean, you're obviously not going to run the full value of it, but at least that would, if you could keep doing that, then you're you're offsetting the cost quite a bit. Just a matter of being able to find a buyer and having the wherewithal to to want to do that. But I don't know, like it's an exorbitant cost, but it's also like, well, like what are we here for anyway, other than to spend money on Nvidia cards?
Yeah. Do we want to roll into the Nvidia stuff, or you want to save that for the back half of the
We may as
news?
well. We're already here.
Set us up. All right. So go ahead. As all right. So as we've been talking about, the embargoes on the Founders Edition 5090s have come out. People more important than us have had access to run the tests and pretty much yeah. Do you want to go ahead and spout the numbers?
Yeah, so I didn't do too much of a deep dive, but I did watch. I already forgot their names. The guys that you like a lot.
Gamers Nexus.
Yeah, Gamers Nexus. I mean, that not that you're really special in liking them. They're very good at what they do. But I watched kind of their TLDR on sort of everything that's going on with the 5090. And there's kind of three main points that I thought were kind of interesting. So the bad news first, the temperature issues, which we thought would be a concern, or they thought would be a concern. Turns out they are a concern, but they're not. It's not the end of the world. It's running at 89 to 90 degrees on the memory. The other parts are cooler, but the memory itself is running at 89 and 90 degrees, which is higher than preferred, but not necessarily the end of the world. So there's one thing. The next thing is they have made some cooling changes, which probably allows them to maybe get away with that. Um, and I feel kind of stupid talking about this because it seems like such an obvious thing. But what they've done with the cooling vent is they have angled it to 35 degrees. I'm sure they've done a lot of science on that angle to figure that out. But they've essentially angled it to 35 degrees so that so at certain points at least. So generally it will shoot air out just kind of out the back like normal. But in a certain performance times, it will angle, and that basically creates a more circular airflow, which is better for airflow in general and temperature regulation in general. So I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. I wonder why no one's done that before, no one's thought of it before, or what's really different about this time. So there's that, and then there's frame rates for games, which is they always spend a lot of time on this. Not going to talk too much about this until later, but basically they did a bunch of tests, and Final Fantasy 14 is about 32 frames faster than the 4090, and then per second. So that's a pretty good little clip. And then something else I thought was kind of interesting that just kind of cherry picked this is that for Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, which they had not used as a benchmark before, but they are now. This was just interesting that the zero point 0.1 lowest frame rates were still higher than all of the 4090's frame rates. So even whenever the card was doing the worst, whenever it was dropping down to the worst, it was still better than the 4090's best day. So I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of a kind of interesting little stat there. But yeah, so those are some of the more interesting stuff that I saw. Yeah, but there's probably still a lot more to dig into, I think.
Yeah, so, the numbers, the percentage-wise, they were saying on average, or the range was like 27 to 35% improvements, overall from the on the 57 or 5090 compared to the 4090, so averaging about a 30% uplift, in, power, which or graphics, and that's, a good plus. They mentioned that the, though the cooling design is actually surprisingly good, and for what it is, especially since it's a 2 slot design now, you're looking at, the one concern is the big power draw because it's kinda pushing the limit of, uh, what you'd recommend to put in the cables. So it's like if you go any higher, you should probably they're gonna have to rethink the format essentially is how to, uh,
Right, the
so
cable
we'll
slapped me in the
that
face at the start of the video,
so
which I thought was kind of funny.
yeah, essentially, with the 12-volt power, from the last, generation previous and stuff like that, there's been a whole slew of issues with that. So, we'll see how they improve upon that, because that's the next thing that's gonna have to change. You're drawing more power, you're gonna have to do it more efficiently, more, safely is the best way to say it. And yeah, I mean, the new cards are what now. It's kind of hard to say whether or not it's the best bang for your buck because
Eh,
the
sure it's not.
5080s aren't out yet. But generally speaking, the RAM, the new RAM isn't really necessary for gaming. It's more like for other applications if you're using it for. So anyone doing 3D rendering or uh, you know anything graphic related, Blender or something like that, then you'll
Yeah.
see you'll see the improvement there.
I mean, that is kind of the
Uh,
best thing to remember about these cards is these are kind of I mean, I don't really know what I'm talking about if I say that they are industry cards, but they're at very least like high end enthusiast cards. These are for people um, that really know what they're doing with them. They're not really for gaming. They're not. They're ripping. They're just like ripping off frame rates that are just ridiculous. That would be hard for to anybody realistically to say that they need. Um, so a lot of it does have to do with 3D modeling, probably other stuff, kind of like that. Is where these cards would be like, okay, I'm making money doing this job, and it uses this card, so it really kind of makes sense that actually, I might pay $1,000 more for the card, but if it saves me, I mean, if it saves me like an hour or two or three or a week over a year, a week in rendering time, then that might be worth thousands. So it might pay for itself pretty quickly. So that's kind of a one kind of nugget to remember.
yeah, for sure. It's or if you're just wanting solely for gaming, it's a bragging, right. And it's always nice that if there's ever an issue, you can theoretically brute force your way through any problem.
It ain't
Uh,
my fault. It ain't my fault. It's y'all fault.
yeah, it's like it's the American dream, just the excess of gaming. But yeah, all right. For 2 grand, the 5090 could be yours if you're able to get your hands on one. So just on the 30th, wait outside of your local box store and just fingers crossed,
So is
right?
that the 30th
Uh,
of January?
yes, next Thursday,
Dang,
the
dude,
30th
that's
of.
like that's not even a week away.
Yep, exciting times. And so, like I said, it's the 5080 will be out. I'm assuming embargo might be the day, but I forget when the embargo for the 5080 is supposed to be. Probably the day before, if we're lucky. And it's not. It's going to be like another February sometime, probably mid to late February is when the some of the 5070 probably come out. But when they haven't really locked in any of those dates yet, so fingers crossed the 5070 Ti might be a better value. Uh,
I'm
Honestly,
That's usually where the sweet
it's
spot is, right?
somewhere around there, right? It's you got better memory allocation on that compared to the 5070. But 5070 is what they're touting. So be careful when you look at the numbers from Nvidia. And like when Nvidia mentioned the 4090 and the 5090, they're like, yeah, the 5090, 2 times the performance. And like, but they were also comparing DLSS 4.0 versus DLSS 3, so it's not the light comparison. and that's why the realistic bump was closer to like the 30% improvement. But yeah,
I
and then that's why you see marketing of the 50 or was it 4090 performance out of a out of the 5070 for 550, and like that's not real.
yeah,
um
like so have I ever told you about my idea that every media company, video game company, movie company, that they all need to have a otaku that just that just that just stays in a closet and just watches anime and plays video games all day and eats junk food. And whenever they have like a build ready of the game or like a draft ready of the movie, they like knock on the door and they hand it to him and he like plays it or watches it. And then he comes out and and he either says it sucks, and if he says it sucks, then they just like go back to work on it. And if he comes out and he says it's okay, then they are like, okay, we have a hit, and they go with that. I think Gamers Nexus needs to have that same guy, but kind of in reverse. They need to have a dude that's not like he's not like a jock or like somebody that's never played like regular games, because jocks actually play a lot of like NCAA and NBA and NFL games and stuff like that. They need to
hey,
have
Call of
like
Duty, don't forget that.
Call of Duty, yes. Not to be pooping on you jocks out there, but those are a kind of different kind of game than what we're talking about here. So they have a guy, and he's not a jock, and he's not a super nerd. He's like the absolute unit of like a normal video game person that that only has one modern platform, and they they make a video and that explains the new graphics cards stuff to him, however long it needs to be, however detailed or not detailed it needs to be, and he they hand it to him or they make him watch it, and he goes, "I get it, I understand," and then they go, "Okay," and that's the video that they put out, not the only video, but like the regular dude video that's like probably only like 5 minutes or 11 minutes long. I just think it'd be
All
a
right.
good idea. I'm just
I
saying.
think I think I all right, I agree with you on that. I think it's a good idea to have that, but what it would do is you just boil it down to a TikTok or like, YouTube clip, and then you just be like, "This is good. Here's why." Like, you know, here's the quick numbers, and that's it. Because
But
the fact is, when it comes to Gamers Nexus, they know where their fan base is, and that's to get really into the numbers and like niche in. Like I remember when I was first watching them during the it was early pandemic, uh, and you're watching certain when they're going through other things like cases and talking about like fans and stuff like that, going through all these other technical deltas. It's just like, wow, I have no idea what I'm talking about, like what you guys are talking about, but if I watch it enough, you kind of learn through osmosis. And you're like, okay, I'm catching on key phrases,
mm,
key terms, and it's just like I understand, or at least I think I understand, and that makes me feel good about myself. And it's just like now I got to commit another. It's like okay, so they're like the Dark Souls of the tech industry when it comes to reviewing, because you beat your head against it for like 50 plus hours, and you're
mm.
like, I almost got it. I'm getting better. 100 more hours. You're like, all right, I feel like I'm one of you, but I'm
It's a
still not there.
masochistic relationship, is what you're saying. You
Uh,
hate them until you love them.
it's like it makes you feel smart. Uh,
Yeah.
but yes, no, well, most definitely,
I mean, maybe
their
they should just
fans
have a
love the
different,
numbers.
like a second channel where it's like, it's not Gamers Nexus, it's like Gamers Water Cooler. And it's like them standing around the water cooler and just like, until that gets awkward, we're going to tell you about the new 5090. And then, well, it's getting a little bit awkward. And then it's over. I'm just saying.
Here's my pitch. Here's my pitch to you. It's your spoof channel for them. It's Gamers Nixus, and it's just you literally like having their video in the corner, fast forwarding it, and then just like doing your interpretation of it. Just, having it like 4 or 5 times
Mm.
speed, and then just you with your subtitles and just being like, this is what they said in layman's. You take their whole hour and a half long video, boil it down to a full 5 minutes tops, good to go.
Yeah,
Gamers Nexus.
yeah, gamers nixus. So I could call it gamers nixus.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's exactly it.
yeah. All right. I'm sure they won't sue me. Um. Anyway. Anyway.
It's
So
just hey, it's like modding an old game. Like, Nintendo,
modding
like,
an
you're trying to
YouTube
update
video.
an old Nintendo game or old GTA game to modern graphics. They're gonna sue you and do a takedown, or they're gonna threaten to, but if you're lucky, maybe they'll hire you on for that remastering project. That's the goal.
I'll make their video run faster. Their 40-minute video down to like 14 minutes. Yeah, that's
Alright, so, outside of that, what else we got for the news, man? We got
uh
some fun stuff coming, right?
yes, ostensibly. There was an Xbox developer direct recently where they went over their kind of 4 big games that are coming out for them. Um, I guess I'll start with the one we probably know the least about first, and that is Ninja Gaiden 4. Um, it's doesn't have a release date yet. They're going to announce a release date sometime this year, I think they said. And also, uh, this was just kind of piqued my interest. Platinum Games is helping. I, it's not Koei
Co-develop.
Tecmo, is it?
Team Ninja.
Team Ninja.
Team Ninja
Okay.
who does
Yeah.
Team
Sorry.
Ninja always does Ninja Gaiden, but and this time they're getting help from Platinum, and that explains a lot behind it. Because when you're looking at it, you're like, "Oh, wait, they're moving that's just Vanquish. They were just sliding across the ground. That's
Mm.
Vanquish. That's Platinum at what its early best."
So
So,
so yeah, it kind of explains to me because I've been wondering a little bit where Platinum has been for a little while. I might have just missed some of their other things they put out. But I've been kind of like, oh, I wonder where they've been. So this probably explains a little bit about that. I don't know how much they're doing because if they do kind of make they did kind of make it sound like they're helping and Team Ninja is its own thing, but kind of nobody is really better at that type, or at least nobody knows that type of game development better than Platinum. I think Shift Up might give them a run for their money. If they both like, if you said go like right now, I think, and you said you got 3 years, whoever came out with that game in 3 years, I think that Shift Up or Platinum, it would be pretty neck and neck. I imagine they'd both be able to make a pretty good of that kind of game. So anyway, that was interesting to me. And then you have something else here about it as well.
oh, well, they announced that the, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is out.
Oh right,
It
okay.
came out as of the direct. They're like, "It's out now." Because they did that with the original Xbox, Ninja Gaiden. They made a black version, which added more to it. So they did that as well with, Ninja Gaiden 2. I didn't really play Ninja Gaiden 2 or 3. So I like that first Xbox, Ninja Gaiden. It was fun, but it was also I sucked at it immensely, and it's just like it was I when it I've mentioned this before, when it comes to those, stylish action, or like, especially like Ninja Gaiden itself was, meant to be more difficult. It was kinda like the Souls like before the Souls games.
Mm.
They harken back to those old arcade or, like, difficulty levels, and I just wasn't really, I appreciated them, but I just wasn't as big a fan because I just couldn't pull it off as smoothly. So I'm like, "Yeah, cool. I respect it," but I'm not really that keen on it. So, but yeah, with Ninja Gaiden 4, one of the big things is you're not playing as Ryu. It's like
Mm.
a Raiden situation for Metal Gear Solid 2. You're playing as a new guy, or at least it's showing a lot of action with the new guy. So I'm not sure if it's going to be like half and half, or just trying to harken in a new main character or something like that.
Is this a Kingdom Hearts 2 situation?
I don't never. I don't think I ever played Kingdom Hearts 2.
So Kingdom Hearts 2,
So
you start as Roxas, and I don't know how much of the game you play as Roxas, but then you go to play as Sora after a while. But anyway, it's a nice little bait and switch
okay.
that Kingdom Hearts started with the second one.
Okay, yeah. Well, like I said, unknown if they're going to be like sticking with or like or trying to make move on from Ryu Hayabusa. So, I mean, that's the main character for since the beginning, and also in DOA and whatnot. Uh, he's kind of the character I want to see being played as.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know, the new guy kinda reminds me of Strider from so, it's just like, "Yeah, he's just a normal, anime ninja. Okay, cool." Uh, I can't really say much else about it. They did show a lot of gameplay and, some cinematics and stuff like that. I'm like, it's a neat setting. I assume that they're just gonna like, lore dump, a lot of the old, um, story bits into it because, most people don't know what happened in 1, 2, or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're like just straight up number 4. I'm like, at this point, you thought that, the smart move or the common move would have just been to reboot the franchise, you know?
Mm.
Uh, kind of gutsy for them just to be like, "Oh, no, this is a continuation. Deal with it."
Yeah,
So,
the number 4 in a game is it's not always bad, but there are plenty of examples of the number 4 going wrong. Um,
Japan doesn't like the number 4.
yeah, number 4,
It's like
she
US, 13.
means
Yeah,
death.
Shin, yep,
Yes, so
yeah.
that is. But I mean, I don't know how much. I actually don't even know how true that is for Japanese development games. I'm just kind of thinking of like I think Doom 4 people said was like really the wrong way or something like that. There's a couple. I know that I think Brad Shoemaker brought it up on one of those old giant bombs a long time ago. But yeah, so that's yeah. So I haven't had much experience with Ninja Gaiden. So I probably will not pick this up, even though it's platinum. Unless I see more that I like, because the trailer was like, okay, this is all right, but then again, it is gonna be on Xbox Game Pass, and by that time, as I will state in a minute, again, I will probably be on Xbox Game Pass at that point because of some of these other games that are coming out.
Yeah, it is, also, when it comes to platinum, and they haven't really been out for a long time, and it's been a hot minute since what the last game was Bayonetta,
I think
that at
so.
least I can recall.
Bayonetta 3, and that's like been
And
over a year ago. That's been like 2 years ago almost. Wow.
outside of that, you had hit and miss with a lot of their most recent stuff. Like they used to always talk about the A team, B team thing, but I just feel like it was very unreliable. And plus, you recently had the loss or a couple departures of some high profile people.
I was going to
It's one
bring
of
that
those
up.
situations that It's one of those situations like, a lot of our favorite companies, whether it be like BioWare or anything like that, you're like, "Yeah, they aren't the same," Blizzard, like, they aren't the same company that they used to be. So, it's kind of iffy to say, it
Well,
makes sense that they'd be working with somebody to help them, but
well,
I'm not sure.
since you already did dancing around it, I wanted to talk about this a little later. But this was another piece of news, a little blurb. The Astral Chain director Takahisa Tora. Um, there's no confirmation, but I keep seeing reports that it seems like he has left the company. He has left Platinum Games. And this most recent one was because he started up a funding page. Dang it, I can't have it pulled up right now, but he started some kind of a funding page for his own game company. Um, so they're like, well, if you're starting your own game company, that probably means you're not working for Platinum anymore. So that's like another thing. Like Astral Chain is one of the games I've been wanting to get to for a long time, but it's kind of stranded on Switch, and so it's kind of like, I keep wanting to pull the trigger on it, but I just haven't yet. But anyway, so and I've seen some stuff on that game. A lot of people like that game for a lot of reasons. And then besides that, Hideki Kamiya, one of the founding guys, notorious for blocking people on Twitter or X, he already left. Slash, I don't know. That seemed like that might have been a little bit of a hostile situation in
Well,
some way,
we talked
but
about it before though, on a previous cast because, he went to reboot Clover, his old company, and to work on Okami too. So,
okay. Well, I don't know. It just I'm just kind of wondering how much he really wanted to leave versus how much he was asked to leave. I just I mean it's just what's her name? I Miss Cleo. I need to put my Miss Cleo hat on. My psychic hat on because I just feel like something was weird there. But anyway, so one of the founding members who Hideki Kamiya, often cited as being kind of the the engine that made things go at that company. And there's a lot of other people that are there that do great work, but it is one of those things where it's like, okay, this company is changing in ways that make it so that you're not going to get the same kind of games in Unreal 5 or anything like that. You're not going to get the same kind of games anymore. So it's a little bit of like approach with caution for anything from Platinum in my book now.
yeah, for sure. We always want good games to come out. So finger crossed this is going to be uh a good revitalization to the series and, good things come from it. We don't no one really wants anything to come out to be garbage. So,
Oh yeah, I mean I want all games to be good.
here's to hoping.
And so yeah, so anyway, I guess just going
Just
on.
be have some, just take the news with a grain of salt. You know, it's
Yeah,
not all.
a lot of what we're doing is just I don't know about Joe, but a lot of what I'm doing is just like conjecture and just kind of guessing because I think that's fun. Um, but anyway, more with the Xbox Developer Direct. I guess we'll just go backwards then. Um, the next, the next game that is going to be coming out that we do have a release date for is a game called South of Midnight. It's releasing April 8th of this year, 2025. So um, this game, I like the rest of these games on here. I really like that it's a little bit unique. It's the gameplay, like the gameplay or whatever. It's kind of hard to tell how unique that's going to be, but the setting is in technically like a modern day, but fantasy. Even like the real world parts of it are sort of fantasy, like fantasy Louisiana, like rural Louisiana. So a lot of swamps, a lot of bright colors, um, and and so there seems like they're weaving a lot of that local lore into the story, and it's got so like that alone just has me kind of like going, dang, this actually looks like something that I have to try, even if I don't love it, if I don't play it for more than like 2 or 3 hours, I have to go like, okay, I have to give it a shot. Um, but yeah, so this game, I'm glad it's releasing pretty soon. We talked about it a while ago on one of the directs, probably back in the summer, I think.
We've
And
talked about it multiple times at this point because the first announcement trailer has been, like, years ago at this point.
really,
So,
okay,
the first announcement teaser trailer was pretty awesome. It's just her on the dock talking to, a mysterious figure, and there was almost nothing given other than the ambiance and the music playing.
yeah,
So that was the initial teaser, and then they talked more about it, in depth last time, one of the last directs, or one of the, I forget which event it was, but that's when they showed a little bit of gameplay, just like a couple, snippets where it showed you like flying around, kind of like Infamous style, hovering or some sort of gliding mechanics, kind of, or like a
yeah,
Spider-Man 2 to be more precise. So the gameplay itself looks like your standard, uh, current like third person action flair,
yeah,
which is a good thing. I mean, once again, I can use another Infamous style game or, something like Spider-Man. The setting, like I said, it's always been like it was always targeted to be like some sort of like bayou, aesthetic,
yeah,
but, 'cause I think originally I was talking about like, well, if you're down there, you're doing that kind of lore. I'm like, okay, where's Baron Saturday and stuff like that? Because that's only a given at this point. Like you always get like a Woogaroo or something, and the one thing I wasn't expecting is it to be like directly tied to current timeline or current day
Oh yeah.
because they show a little. In fact, that was part of it where like okay, I'm a little less interested now. It's just like, like during a hurricane relief kind of situation, and I think that's how you get your trip to Oz or whatever you want to call it. Like you go from current setting into stumbling across the Fey world, the magical elements of it. And I'm like, okay, that's your gateway. And then that explains why she's in modern attire, as it were. And, all right, it'll be interesting to see. They're doing that stop motion animation, and it's inconsistent. Certain times it's pretty smooth, and then other times it's very jarring. What like how they pause and stuff. So
Well,
it
and
was
that's the thing I wanted to touch on too is because they talk about that and they say that we wanted to use the stop motion style, and I'm kind of like, even the stop motion style is really smooth now because they're so good at it. I mean, those people are animators; they understand like exactly how all that stuff has to happen. So that's the one thing I'm kind of worried about, where it's like we're using the stop motion style, and it's like really you're trying to save frames, and I get it. I don't know how big that studio is, and I know money's always tight, and it's always really hard to make games. And it's like you can cut that corner and make it sort of part of the cinematic story part thing, and I'll kind of forgive it. But like I hope that I'm wrong about that, and I hope that it's that nothing else is really corner cutty.
well, I mean, it was like I said, the very first trailer looked good. The second trailer is where I complained about it, and you were at its defense. Um, my joke at the time was, "All right, I can't wait for the new RTX car, Nvidia cards to have the frame generation to fill the gap and make it a smooth." Like I want that mod to make it a smooth like
Fix the
120
game.
the entire way through.
Fixed it for you.
Uh,
Oh gosh,
well,
that would
that's
be.
like I said, they're trying to make it look like the Into the Spider Verse films or that the one Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I can understand that. But once again, my problem with that second Spider-Man movie was the original one had better intervals of breakup, and it looked good and it was consistent. The second one, there was noticeable parts where, like, it feels like
It's
it's
chugging.
lagging. It feels like I'm watching a video that's buffering.
Mm,
It was just too many like, certain times it was just no problem, other times it was too big of a pauses, and that's how I felt while watching this. The dialogue scenes when they're in close quarters and they're moving around in a tight spot or the camera's really not sweeping, that seemed to be pretty good and the mouth animations and such. But then at other times, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna have bigger hitches and bigger gaps between frames." I'm like, "This it's very
yeah,
it doesn't sit well with me personally," and that was my problem with the second Spider-Man movie. I'm like, but the actual the combat looked good for what little there was, but I didn't freeze frame it. I didn't rewind it a bunch. I saw it and I'm like, okay, it's not annoying me.
yeah,
So hopefully if the combat's smooth, I can kind of forgive cutscenes because the cutscenes are going to be far and few between.
yeah.
The meat of the action, if that's smooth or consistent, at least that's fine, because 'cause I'm not really a frame snob or anything like that. 'Cause I'm not running the highest monitor setup, and I have an older graphics card, so,
But you
it's
want solid frame rate, and you want it to be over 60 as much as possible, 60 or above as much as possible, because but because like if they don't do that for aesthetic reasons, it's going to suck to play. So as long as they have their head in the right place as far as gameplay, then it hopefully it'll be okay. But it's one of those things where we are going to have to get our hands on it and look and really play and go. I know I will to be able to make a judgment. It's like, okay, this was a choice that you made, and I understand it, or this was a choice that you had to make to cut costs, and I can feel it, and it doesn't. It's never going to feel good if it's that way.
see, I don't care if it's consistent 30, so long as it's consistent, that's
Well,
the
yeah,
problem. It's like, if you're jumping from 30 to 60, that is a big enough
yeah, yeah.
gap
That's what I mean.
where
I mean,
it's
you
you're
want
noticing it,
consistency,
yeah.
and you want 60 or above as much as possible. But consistency is the main thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be as far as gameplay goes, I'm sure it'll be fine. And I'm more curious about the story. So, yeah, it's been like I said, since that first teaser trailer we announced, like, we mentioned it way back then, I've been interested in it, and, yeah, I hope it plays out, I it at some points, though, with them talking and everything, doing the develop direct, I'm getting, like, Duskborn vibes from this now, and, like, I feel like I should hit the abort button, but I'm kinda committed
Yeah,
to seeing
yeah.
this through.
Like when they have the nice cameras and not the nice lighting, and they show them all working diligently at their desks and stuff. I I, I do feel like it's a little bit propagandy, and it makes me want to like the game. It really does. It makes me want to play the game, but it's also like, yeah, guys, we gotta you just hopefully you just did a good job. Like that's all that it's. If it's not a good game, I won't care about how much you talked it up. It's not gonna matter.
Yes. Alright, well, what else we got?
Two more going up the list. Claire Obscura Expedition 33, releasing April 24th of this year, 2025. So that's coming out just a couple weeks after South of Midnight. Um, Claire Obscura is it's a game about it's a game set in a 18th century alternate fantasy reality France. Um, and I can't the gameplay is like action, right? It's kind of
It's
action
turn-based
RPG,
action.
turn-based action. Okay, yeah,
So, yeah, so it's an action RPG in the sense of, like, so we've known about this since last time they showed it too,
yeah.
but it's turn-based like, Final Fantasy X. You actually get to see the lineup of the
Who's
people
coming?
and
Yeah,
who's
that's
get
it. Yeah,
what their turn order is, but then it's action RPG like, Super Mario RPG, or like the Mario and Luigi games, for the DS and for the Game Boy Advance. So that's when if you time it right, you can dodge, parry, or like, do additional damage. So there's those elements. They kind of hinted at, a lot of customization in this game, which was almost too much, in my opinion. I'm like,
yeah.
it's almost to the point where I'm like, I might just wait like a month and then
See
find
what
out
the build,
what the hot build is and just build accordingly because I I mean it's awesome for the fan of the old RPG, and that's
right?
what these guys seem to really haul back to, like, they seem like they grew up on the Super Nintendo and early PlayStation era days, or, like, when Final Fantasy, X rolled around, I feel like that influenced the turn order and their kind of, the whole, like, the sphere grid.
These
They're like,
guys
"We
all
love
played.
that, to go anywhere,"
These guys all played Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X too. They definitely did.
They were it's like, one of the things they touted was the overworld, and I'm like, "Oh, man, that's the fact that they seemed really proud of having an overworld," and I'm like,
They were proud.
the old yeah, final be like and that's, for me, the way they were showing some of the characters and, some of the extra, like, modes of transportation, it made me feel, like it's the old Final Fantasy games, but for me specifically, it was more like the Tales games, Tales of Symphonia, like,
Mm.
or, the Secret of Mana, and it's like if you wanna find the extra bosses and like,
Mm.
the really hard stuff, you can really go off and, probably, it's like, "Alright, that's
Yeah,
cool."
and
Uh,
in the video, whenever he's like, and that's right, we built an overworld. I was like, neat. I was like, cool. It looks good. I like the idea. I like the overworlds of those old games. It gives me the feels, but um, it's also like I don't know if you need to. I don't know if you need to lay into it quite that much. It's like
so
it's not
they
that
have a
big of a deal, bro.
passion for this game, like, I feel like their passion is more genuine, like,
They
these guys really got into it, and, I was just like, they are RPG nerds that really had a vision for what they wanted, and I really hope this turns out well. They were kind of losing me early on in the beginning when they were doing the little bit of character deep dives, like just talking about like because it went from a really grim, serious setting to then trying to give these people like some of them like quirky personalities and stuff, and I'm like, oh no. This is not what I want from my dark brooding game. It's just like but it's like you are going into like like Final Fantasy 13 or something, like or I'm like, I don't want some of those characters per se. Like, who knows? I can change my mind and be like, this character's totally awesome. But it's most definitely meant to be. I feel like I'm not sure exactly how long the game's going to be, but I think it's supposed to invoke an 80-hour RPG. It
Oh
might be more like
gosh.
40-hour or 30 or 40-hour, but I feel like they really are harkening back to those old era days, and I'm like, dang, dude. Um, yeah, you probably can. It'll probably be like, yeah, if you do everything quickly, beat it in 20 to 30. But like if you take your time and do side quests, you got like 50 under your belt or something. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled that. Um, though like I said, it was they had a lot to talk about it. I don't know. What were your thoughts, man? Because like I said,
I
I like the idea. I don't know if I could commit to the concept.
this is another game where I'm like, I am gonna try it because it's unique and different. I mean, obviously, it harkens back to some of those old things I like, but there aren't a lot of games like this around anymore, and the setting is a little bit different from. I mean, I guess it's kind of Lies of P or whatever, but to me,
Oh no,
it's a
I find it a bit different. Yeah.
okay. So good. It's a little bit different, and so I really want to see what that's like. I kind of believe in rewarding devs for taking chances. Um, it always comes down to the gameplay. I think the gameplay will be fine. And it's just a matter of if they like the actual like nuts and like if the 80% of the gameplay where you're is fine, then it'll all be all right. It just comes down to that 20% of like menus and adding special effects or leveling up somehow, because like the one thing that did have me definitely worried was, and I think we probably are talking about the same thing, there's a part where he shows a big screen full of fairly small blocks, and they're all different tiny stat boosts and changes. And he's like, even we don't know what all the best combinations are. And I'm like, well, somebody needs to know, because if you don't, if you're the devs and you don't know, I don't know if I'm gonna want to. Like, I'm not sure I'm gonna want to spend the time figuring it out. It may not be fun, so you need to know if it's fun or not. So hopefully, if that part is, then
Well,
I think we'll probably be okay.
Well, he was like, "Yeah, I built my character as a support, like, for the whole team. Everyone else builds him as a glass cannon." And I'm like, "Okay, that tells me that you're playing it wrong." No,
Yeah, you're
that's why I
wrong.
said I would wait. I'd personally wait enough time to have people who'd want to put the time in to then tell me what my build should be,
Yeah,
because I don't necessarily wanna be stuck with, unless if they let you rebuild your character, if they have some sort of, skill reset, that would be great.
yeah,
Because that's the problem is if you commit and then next thing you know, you built your character wrong. That's you don't wanna do like was it Elden Ring, the Erd tree, a lot of people built their character a certain way only to find out at the end, like, "Oh, wait, I now made this infinitely harder for myself because I wasn't planning for their end game, which is not the way, I was playing." So, uh, the thing is with, Expedition 33 and South of Midnight, I mean, they need to be plotted because they're new IP. In a world of, sequels and prequels, which is literally like half of this showcase. Um,
yeah,
that's that good for them for coming out with new stuff. I think South of Midnight's gameplay will be far more easy for barrier to entry because it seems to be just a more or less a standard
yeah.
third person action affair, like a little more with more speed. And I honestly think, Expedition 33, I'm more excited about this, to be honest, uh,
I mean,
only
honestly,
because
I am too. Like,
there's so much
yeah,
unknown, but I want so long as you don't get bogged down with the menus and you don't make it, like, overly, complicated. That's the problem is if you make it too grindy, if you have to do sub-menus and sub-menus or, like, sub-quests of this and that, um you gotta have at least a little streamline, especially that's why a lot of those remakes nowadays, they have all those quality of life features. I'm not saying they should have a fast forward 2 times mode or anything like that, But if I'm gonna have to every time I have to get in a battle, for example, the old school game where you had a cutscene where you gotta go into the battle, do the thing, gotta get out of the battle, like, that would drive me up the wall in modern day time, 'cause I don't have time for that. Cut the fluff, give me more of the action, go straight in, and other games have done it well, where you have turn-based, and you can go seamlessly from, the world setting into the match and then pull out again. I mean, the Final Fantasy remake does stuff like that fairly well. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential there. There's a really unique setting. I feel the fact that almost everything is from scratch. Uh, I'm curious about the lore more on this one because like how many expeditions were there before? Because all they said is there is a
They,
there's a
they said this is the
paintress,
they said this is the
you know,
33rd. They said this is Expedition 33.
It's Expedition 33 because that's what year it is.
Oh,
So the concept to this, which they said
like
which is
COVID.
that
Okay.
the painter came out, put a number on there. Everyone on that hit age of that number and above died. They disappeared. Then
Right.
every year, the person lowers the number. It's been dropping down. So now the number is 33. So when the time comes to pass, everyone 33 and older are going to be or 33 now because everyone at 34 is apparently dead. So anyone 33 or turning 33 will die. And then theoretically, if you fail, then there's going to be 32. So if you can make the sequel go all the way down to the tweens if you want to, and then just have it a JRPG. So
Yeah, those
yeah,
tweens.
that's the question. So I'm more curious, like, hey, has it been going on? Did they start at 50? I mean, at this point, at a certain point, you're like, after like 5 years of people getting erased, you're like, okay, we need to do like
Yeah.
commit to everyone going full siege, because
Yeah.
yeah, since it's an open world, you have an actual like world, like you're doing an expedition, send in everyone, but so they have weird monster character, ally characters, which is like, okay, that was unexpected. Not just all like human, main character people. There's like they reach the continent or reach the landmass, and they're like, yeah, there's a creature that flies for you, and they're just like a giant balloon. That's your high wind, Final Fantasy equivalent to mode of transportation. So
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks good as far as like okay, or it definitely looks different. It's like all right, what are we really doing here? It looks like we could be good, but also there's a way that this could not be good. It just depends, but I'm excited.
it has to respect your time as a player. So
As,
long as so long as you respect your time, and you don't have to get into the weeds. If you can just you can if you can, it's great that the extra stuff is there. Super hard bosses, extra stuff to collect because it's like I said, very much harkens to those old RPGs. But if you're going to make me sit through hours of cutscenes, or if you're going to make me have to sit and grind to get a certain level or something like that, or waste my time with canned animations again and again and again until I try to rip my eyes out.
yeah,
Um, I don't have time for that. So, but I feel like these guys, so long as they can respect that, because they have like they really do have a lot of homages and passions to the old stuff, and that's what makes me excited. I just
but
don't have 40 hours, 50 hours to play.
yeah, and that's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is it's just really good that these games are going to be on Game Pass because I would probably go for at least one of these. But new, but the other one, but like the other one, I don't know which one it would be, but the other one I'd probably wait for a sale. But but I won't have to because they'll be on Game Pass. Anyway, so that's it for Claire Obscura, Obscura, however you say it.
Just say Expedition 33. That's what everyone's going to be calling it, I swear.
See, that's the thing too. Is like I think that the name, I think the title is bad. I think it's too long. I think Expedition 33 is boring, and I think Claire Obscura is too obscure. I think that it'll probably be fine, but if I wasn't already more interested in this game because of everything else I've seen, I don't know if the title would like. I feel like anybody who's really on the fence is going to be like that title's weird, and they're just going to be like, nah, I don't want, I don't know. So maybe it's just me, but I strongly believe in good, clear, unique titles, And this is definitely, it's unique, but not really. It's just too long. It's too wordy. So that's just me being my preferences. So hopefully it won't matter, but that has me worried.
Yeah, I like that. I just been referring to Expedition 33. I think that's fine. It kind of gets to the point of what it is, and it's not a uh, Resident Evil or subtext with Revengeance, Renegade, or anything that starts with an R, Reloaded, Rewound, nothing. So long as they stayed away from the R's, I'm fine. But yeah, okay. When's that come out again?
Uh, April 24th.
Okay. So it's the 8th for South of Midnight and the 24th for Expedition 33. And then the last game on the list that they talked about.
Last game on the list is the one that everyone's excited for, and that is Doom: The Dark Ages. It will be releasing May 15th, 2025. I believe that's the Ides of March. Nope, that would be in March. This is May. So the Ides of whatever, whatever. Is it Ides if it's in May? Anyway, the Ides of May. Um, so yeah, it's the Ides of May. That's going to be the episode title. I can already tell. um, anyway, so that's coming out. Everyone's excited for this. Um, the main thing that kind of has me perked back up about this is that they abandoned the multiplayer for this game. Which, when I heard that, I was like, okay, now we're talking. Okay, now we're talking. So um, that is that is exciting. Other than that, I when I first saw this, I was like, okay, Doom: The Dark Ages. I wasn't really that excited. I'm a little bit more excited having seen some more gameplay and kind of thought about. I didn't play Doom Eternal, so um, I was a little bit like I've kind of had enough from the Doom 2016. So this one, you know, I'm sure it's going to be I'm sure it's going to be really cool. Be very fast, and I think I've had enough time between Dooms that I'm ready for another one. So hopefully this will be good.
So this one is actually not going to be as fast as the others. Uh, as you stated, Doom 2016 model was run and gun. Doom Eternal was jump and gun, and this one is I forget what it was. I think it's more like just stand and fight because the concept is you're more hulking. You're meant to the concept of strafing. So that it's supposed to be reminiscent of the original Doom, and like that seems neat. I don't know. It's one of those things that I feel like they're trying to do too much, and it actually made me less interested in this game
Mm,
after watching this because they just they're trying to go over the top in a lot of ways, I think. They're
yeah.
like, "Okay, here's all the new weapons, here's all the new kit gear," and they're like, "And, you could do explore and find new hidden items," and so I'm like, I don't need world hubs. I don't need little mini hub worlds for me to run around, unless if there's action to be everywhere, but at the same time, I don't wanna be going too far out of my way to collect loot, gear, story. Uh, they were talking about like, yeah, and we got, like, cutscenes and stuff like that. I'm like, part of the beauty of 2016's Doom was there wasn't much story. It was like, the joke was, "We're trying to talk to you," and he just smashes the intercom, he's just like,
Yeah.
"I don't give a crap."
It was
Um,
yeah, I mean that stuff was just so good. What
it
they
was
said
it was tongue in cheek, and it was really yeah.
in
Anyways,
one of
yeah,
the
go on.
parts that they said we're putting the story in the cutscenes and not in the codexes. Or we're taking we're taking the story out of the codexes and putting them in the cutscenes. I think that's how they worded it. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. I, I I don't know. Like, there's some thoughts about what Doom was versus what it was supposed to be. Original, like, was it like the very first Doom? Um, I think that that game is kind of remembered as being slow, but I think for the time it was pretty fast.
No, it's always been a decent speed. I mean, granted, it's not as fast as Quake or anything, but it was a fast game.
Yeah, and so like that was sort of the thing to me with the first Doom. I yeah, so the over the top stuff that you mentioned, that was the first thought that I had whenever I saw the words Doom, the Dark Ages. I was like, oh, they're it's not like jumping the shark, but it's a little bit gimmicky. It's a little bit like this is so metal, and and one part I kind of like it. It depends on the execution. On one part I kind of like it, but I'm a little bit higher on it than I was. Um, but I still am very skeptical as to whether or not this is going to be much different or better than the other ones, or if I'm just going to enjoy it because kind of it's kind of Doom, but a little bit different. I don't know.
Well, I mean, here the things that I was, that are concerning me with this, like I said, other than the open world hub, is like they're like, and just like it was funny because they're like, uh the way he put it was something like we're like kind of like what people were excited for, something like that. And like I'm like I don't. They're like yeah, mechs, like you could to fight the big monsters in a mech suit, or like he calls it what it is, and he's like, and then he has to reiterate or he has to emphasize it's a mech. Like I'm like okay, so when you're talking about a past, lore, now you're gonna throw in a mech. I'm like okay, sure.
It
I
might
was
work.
totally, I mean, it'll be fun, but he's like, and he's like, and you got a dragon to ride on because it's like it's like, and it's not a one-off sequence. I'm like, yeah, it'll probably be cool. It's most definitely gonna be set piece moments for sure.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's just like I feel like you're changing like I said, chances are when it plays out, it'll be fine. It'll be all great, and I'll be singing a different tune. But you're making me feel like it's a completely different style of game. You're making me think like everything you're saying to me, like just doesn't seem like it's the one to one. It's not the same.
yeah.
So it's kind of weird that way. And like I said, I feel like they're really pushing to throw everything they have at it. And also, at the same time, I never really cared to have any backstory because the way I always envisioned it was like you're kind of taking generic, almost
Doom
no
guy.
story Doom guy
Yeah,
from the first one, and he just happens to wake up, and then they talk about all this back lore and stuff like that. Like there's a whole that was part of the funny part is like there's a whole cult foundation around the Doom guy who just wakes up and in Doom 2016. And now it turns out that there is an actual legit lore, and it's this. I'm like, I just wanted it to be the normal Space Marine, generic Space Marine dude, who just happens to get,
yeah.
punted into the future.
Let's run with that joke. I mean, maybe they beat it to death too much in Doom Eternal and stuff, and so they're like, yeah, we need to do something different. I don't know, but yeah, it'll probably be fun to play at least for a while, probably like couple 5 hours, whatever. But we'll see.
No, like I said, it'll be I honestly think it'll be a great game. They've made really awesome stuff. I just at this point, I'm the least excited about this out of all the showcase stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, me too.
so that was kind of and then you were expecting like, and one more thing? Nope. Okay, nope, nope. It's just
Nope,
like,
Xbox doesn't do that anymore. They don't
oh,
do
they
that.
did last time, last direct.
Not
So that's
not
that's
not this direct, and therefore they don't
not
do it anymore.
2015 or 2025. Yeah, 2025 direct, like Xbox no more. Because everything's an Xbox. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. uh, Okay. Well, there you go. That's been it for the news.
Uh,
Uh
I want I
yeah.
want them to do a joke on that where it's like this condom machine is an Xbox. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
All right, we now know what your high fantasy is. Okay. Uh, the truck stop, a men's bathroom.
this
You want to be playing an Xbox.
this this I'm done. Go ahead.
All right. Well, since that's it for the majority of the news that we felt like talking about, let's get to essentially what we've been playing.
Oh, I would have one
Uh,
more thing that I want to just
oh,
a
is there
little
now?
nugget I wanted to mention. This is just a piece of something to actually to just say. So PS5 sales are pacing ahead of PS4, I guess, for this time in the life cycle, and Xbox Series is lagging behind the Xbox One. So that's kind of more in Xbox news. And then just overall, there's been a 25% drop in hardware sales. I think that's year over year. So it makes sense why Sony would have put out the Pro, and just kind of a little bit of a reminder of where we are in the hardware life cycle of consoles. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting, so I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, get us our new stuff already. I mean, it's just, it'll come out when it comes out, and hopefully the jump, the tech will be better. We'll see. I mean, it's for the price, we'll see how the Switch does, and we'll see how much that improved. And that's I'm not holding my breath, man.
No, yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I'm gonna buy a Switch for $500 off of eBay just to prove I'm right. Anyway, so what have we been playing? I have been playing Children of Morta, but I am really not ready to talk about that yet. I keep wanting to be, but I pick it up sometimes. I'm just like, that game's. I feel like I need to play that game some more. So anyway, game I did get a chance to finish is Little Nightmares 1. This is a game I've been wanting to play for a really long time. I don't know why I didn't just go freaking play it, because it's super short. Somebody said 5 hours. The actual like straight time is like 3.5. I think I probably spent about 4 because I got some of the goodies and stuff like that. But there's some more stuff in there that they reveal to you after you beat the game. Where I was like, oh, okay, well, dang, there's that and there's that and there's that. So I'm not sure if I'll get to many of those extras, but yeah. So I wanted to play this because I've always wanted to play it, but also especially since they announced Little Nightmares 3, I wanted to go ahead and get to 1 and 2 because they're so short, and people have always said, "Oh, dang, they're really short, but they're really really good games." And I can confirm both those things. It is very short, and it is very good. Um, this is
It's
one
gonna be 3 is gonna be developed by a different team, so uh,
that has me nervous, but that's why what is it, the animals one? What is it called? I forget what the other one's called, but there's one that's by the old Little Nightmares team, and it whenever I saw it, I was like, dang, that looks like Little Nightmares. Uh, so so hopefully, no, maybe it's not called Reanimal. Is it called Reanimal? Anyway, um, so yeah, so Little Nightmares 3 being developed by somebody else has me nervous, but I at least want to play these two for their own sake, but if for nothing else, then to go ahead and play Reanimal, or whatever it's called. But yeah,
well, 3 is gonna be 2 players, and it's also by Supermassive, so, I mean, the guys who do Dark Pictures Anthology, The Quarry, those horror cinematics, so it's a different style game for them, but, at least they understand the homework assignment,
yeah, I
We'll
mean,
see
they're
how
not
it
a
plays
bad
out.
team. It's just different, so you never know what's going to be kept in translation and stuff like that. But yeah. So anyway, for Little Nightmares 1, have you played this through all the way through?
I never played it all the way through. I touched it, like, forever ago. I think it was I forget where I even played it. I think it was on PlayStation, back then, and I just
I think I checked, and I
it was
think
neat.
I felt dumb because I bought it, because I think that you have it. I think I checked, and I think that you have it. I checked after I bought it, obviously, but I was like, I mean, I got it on super sale, so it was like $5 or something. So I was like, yeah, it's fine. But anyway, yeah. So this game, it is it is pretty close to pure gameplay. There's only a couple times where I didn't do what they wanted me to do fast enough, and it was pretty early on. So they were still trying to teach me the game, and where they put a little thing that told me what to do, or what I needed to do. Um, and both those times were very welcome. But for the rest of the game, I mean, it's not like very complicated or anything like that, but it's just very good. It's a very good little story, little weird story with very good simple puzzles. And they like show you stuff, they highlight stuff. One thing that they don't do that I appreciated is that they don't highlight everything yellow that you need to interact with. Um, so, because sometimes in games, whenever they do that, I'm like, okay, you kind of think I'm stupid, but that's that's all right. Um, these guys, they don't do that, and and overall, I just like the world. I like everything that they try to put into the game. It doesn't really overstay its welcome. I mean, how can it at 3.5 or 4 hours? Um, and um, it's that I will say that there were two times where I no, there was one time that I just did not know what to do. Um, but I thought the answer was in the room that I was in, and it was actually in a previous room. So I looked it up online, and they were like, "You do this." I was like, "I did that. I did that." Okay, and then you go back to it, and I was like, "Oh dang!" And as soon as they said you go back, I was like, "Oh frick!" And then I was able to do it. That, and then there were two jumps toward the end that I had to make that that like I felt like the game kind of screwed me over on. Um, but that's
Spoken
kind
like a true
of
gamer.
no, yeah, yeah. It's that's kind of neither here nor there. I mean, it's forgivable, but like otherwise, I mean, it was just a really good game. I have to give this game like high seven, around eight at least. I'll have to think about it more, but I really did like this game, and I can't wait to play the second one.
All right. Well, that's cool. Now I'm trying like the first two games I believe are single player, and you're right. The team that did that, there were it's I believe it's uh Tarsier is how
I
and
think so.
they the Reanimal is the new game
Awesome.
that they're coming out with. So you're right about that new one. But yeah, when it comes to the third one, like I said, it's going to be super massive. It's going to be supposed to be two player, so it will make or break friendships, maybe.
Yeah,
So yeah, well,
we'll see.
for sure. All right. Well, I, on the other hand, have
Mhm.
been playing. There's a couple PSVR games I was able to complete. One is Rainbow Reactor Fusion, and the best or the quickest way to explain this game is it's a match three janitorial game. Uh, so it's the concept is you get a letter from a little bit distant family member telling you to come to a factory, and essentially it's a fusion reactor that is uh, made up of, like, the equivalent of, like, wonderflonium or something like that, it's the a new imaginary energy source that does wonders, but it's been in disrepair, and then there's supposed to be they hint that there's a secret, there's a machine overlord that is, kind of is the last thing there, and all the humans at the facility have left. You need to help repair it and bring everything up, but also look for this secret meaning behind everything. And the person who's giving you this narration uh, is a over the top comedical impersonation of the like I don't know, the European scientist, kinda like think of like a comical Albert Einstein or like a some it's just like what you'd expect them to have portrayed in the '80s or
Like a
something, just a thick,
stereotypical
you know
European
yeah,
scientist.
yeah, it's meant to be played up like hammy, like cheesy that way. So, I was like, "Alright," uh the match 3 gameplay, what makes it unique is you're playing it in VR, and you have a kinda like a honeycomb grid that you're looking at, uh, from a distance, but you have to, different colored orbs are coming down shoots from your left and from your right, and you're supposed to grab them in real time, and you're throwing the orbs. So it's not a set trajectory. You actually have to learn uh, how to exactly throw in this game. Because if you're trying to throw it overhead like a baseball, it's not going to work out for you that well. You actually have to kind of shot put it like from the shoulder straight forward and get the timing right, and you can kind of get a feel for it. It was never as comfortable as I personally would like it. For a long time, I had more success throwing it throwing it like a shuriken or something like that, just from the chest outward, not to be like Elon Musk. Well, you throw low, not high. So
Wow.
realize that mid animation. Yeah. So that's yeah. The the gameplay's fun. It's just that, there's it's a shorter game. I don't know, I think there's, like, 9 levels. They have a bunch of challenge modes, that you can do. Your little floating robot companion, Snarky, gives you lip and stuff like that. Uh, it's very much, was it, like, text to speech kind of voice, like, voice acting. Uh and there's a lot of hidden items around, or not a lot, but there's a couple of key items, but they're hidden pretty well. It's like I didn't realize towards I got to the very end, and I was like, "Oh wait, I think this is legit like the end." And I'm not sure if it does a hard cutoff or it lets you free roam or anything like that. So I then went through and then scoured the entire area, and I was kind of patted myself on the back for being able to find all the stuff without a guide. But the story itself was, easy enough, I guess, predictable. Uh, there was a fun little Easter egg kind of like, true ending kinda thing at the very end, like, for completionist's sake. I managed to get, like, all the trophies except for there's a couple score related ones, and I'm like, this is like, the only real the knock I have against it is there's just enough jank, or at least for me. I'm not sure if it was something that I was doing incorrectly, but every now and then, as the ball comes down the chute, you can buy modifiers, and constantly is telling you you can buy upgrades to help you out. And but as you're buying upgrades, they're also deducting points from you, like percentages. Like okay, you deduct 20% of your total points for having like essentially a ball trap on each shoot. So therefore, it won't necessarily fall and hit the ground. Because if you have so many paint orbs that hit the ground, so many strikes and you're out, kind of deal. Then you have to reset. Uh, though every now and then, I wouldn't have anything, like, queued up, but then when the orb comes down and I'm throwing something, I come back, and it's as if my hand, like, knocked it out, and it just fall and break, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but, you'd hear the AI be like the robot being like, "Oops," and you have, like, 3 strikes remaining, and I was like, "I didn't do anything wrong." It was weird. It's like so it was just janky enough, and I was getting it to throw properly. I was having just a frustrating enough time that I was like, okay, I am 2, I think 2 or 3 trophies away from the platinum, but they're all based on getting certain high level points. I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm like, I am not going to complete you. I was able to do like the chain combos and stuff like that. You can get trophies for like I think 5, 6, 7, maybe I think 7 and 8 maybe is like the highest or something. But yeah, I was able to get a really high chain on that stuff. And I felt good about that. But also it's kind of quasi random.
Mm.
It's like RNG a little bit. So yeah, for me, I guess by the end of the day, the game itself was only a handful of hours long. It's not very expensive. It was only like $15, and I think I spent maybe 4 hours into it, maybe 5. I can't. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to remember, but it was. I enjoyed it enough, but at the same time, if I had to give it a like out of a 10 score, because I suffered enough jank, I'm like, dude, you're like a 5 or a 6.
Oh.
Like a 6 is like okay, like just okay. Like 5 is like, but I bought it on sale, and so the price wasn't the $15 originally. I bought it for less, and I'm like, I think I got my money's worth out of it. I wasn't necessarily, it's like it was just that towards the end, like as the difficulty ramps up and as you're having a harder time, like, that jankiness for me, or at least that I kept on suffering certain parts of janky, like, I couldn't like, it was getting frustrating. It
Yeah.
didn't really even the hardest stage didn't take me too many tries, but at the same time, it's just like I
Mhm.
think for the average person, it's more like a 6 or a 7, depending on how it's like, I think I might be judging it a little harsher, and, but yeah, like I said, it's probably a 5 or a 6. I think personally it's a 5, and I think for most people it's a 6. If you really like, this if it ever meshes with you, or if this really sounds like your jam, then maybe it's a 7, but I can't give it much more than that. I
Yeah.
would say it's like a 6,
I
like a
mean,
comfortable 6 around.
jank will make you frustrated, and frustration will make you give a game a lower score. So I definitely hear that.
Yeah. Alright, so there was that, and then the next one is something that I had on my like, in my library for a long time, and I'm trying to go through my old library of PlayStation VR games, especially since I bought, quite a few things over the winter break, but it's one of those, like, I should go back and play the old stuff first that I haven't gotten around to, because as, uh, gameplay for most games are getting to a better standard, uh, the clunkiness of some of the early games might be more annoying, it's like so I might as well play the old stuff first and then enjoy it, and then and play the newer stuff and have that, opposed to being like, "Man, I really wish it played like this brand new game that just came out with all these nice, quality of life features." So I'm trying to one of the old games I played was The Room VR, A Dark Matter. So that, like the old, Room games for, cell phone devices and stuff like that. It's just, you're locked in a room. It has some sort of sinister tone to it. In this case, you're a detective who's kind of, has these cases of missing persons, and a mysterious box arrives at your office. Uh, and it's kind of a weird Cthulhu-esque, or some sort of, you're in old-timey London. So you look outside and it's like smokestack, or like, and like cobblestone. So you don't actually know what era it is, but it's just like the first person to go missing, or that you're investigating, is um, a museum curator for like a mummy, like an old Egyptian pharaoh's tomb kind of thing. There, so you're at the museum, you get teleported to the museum, and this one is pretty basic, pretty simple. It's just, you teleport from certain key locations in the map. Uh, though, to prove a little bit about this jank I was talking about, when I started the game, it made me, VR reset my room. It's like, you have to have enough space for room scale VR. I'm like, "Oh,
Whoa,
that's interesting. You're not gonna have a feature for just standing still or sitting down. It has to be room scale."
whoa.
I'm like, "That doesn't seem right." I exited, tried looking it up, I went back in, and, I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'm just gonna push my boundaries out, make it a 6 by 7, like, in the grid system, just to fake out the system, computer." And the PlayStation's like, "Okay, good. We're good. You're playing at room scale." I'm like, "Sure." And then the very first thing I do is, as I go to load the game, it's like, "Do you wanna play sitting or standing?" And I'm like, "You pieces of garbage."
Yeah,
So, yeah, so you can totally play this thing seated, not a big deal, and it's you teleport to certain locations, so you're not even freely walking in a room. It's literally just go to certain locations, see what's around there, kind of mess with whatever gadgets they have, or try to, and, it's all these little, it's like a $30 game brand new. I most definitely bought it on sale. I can't remember what it was now because I bought it forever ago. Uh, but for the price and for the time I put into it, it's totally worth it. Some of the puzzles seem like really obscure, or like there's subtle hints, and so when you do figure it out, you kind of get that, endorphin kick. Like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. That was pretty good. I was happy that I figured that out. Other things are a little more obvious, and I don't know, it's just they kept things just interesting enough. In fact, if anything, it could be a little longer. If but for the, if you get it on sale, I feel like, especially when you compare it to an escape room, an actual escape room, and the amount you pay to go to those, and how much time you get out of it. It may not be as exhilarating as being in a real escape room, but it's far cheaper, and I got more time out of it. There's like maybe 4 or 5. I think there's 5 different areas. and yeah, that's it, man. It's just your normal escape room fare, different scenarios, different places, uh, and things just keep on evolving. There was 1 or 2 puzzles where, like, there's one puzzle in particular, like, I think I was just too tired, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I think I'm gonna have a hard time with this." I really did, like, I kinda was, I came back to it, a little bit later, and I'm like, "Oh, I was just looking at this kind of incorrectly." I'm like, the moment I realized, I was like, "It's not as hard as I made it out to
Yeah.
be," but it was one of those musical, like, you play an organ type of deal,
Oh,
and that was always my hang up on the original Myst. Like, I can breeze through the original Myst, no problem, but when it comes to, like, reading music or trying to do that, I'm like, that part was always the trouble spot for me. And even Machinarium had a musical note portion where it's like, I, for some reason, had the hardest time with picking out the exact note that they were playing that I needed to copy. This was far simpler than that, but at the same time, like I said, I was making it so much more difficult for myself. But that's neither here nor there. Most people probably won't have as much difficulty. But for a hot moment, I'm like, dude, if I get stuck here, is that just game over? Like, there's no help you to assist through this puzzle. So I kind of panicked. But after that, that was, like I said, not a big deal. So, fun little experience. You have access to my games, so if you most
so
definitely want
is this on
something.
PSVR too?
Yeah, they're
Okay,
both PSVR2 games. I think they're also, like, they're on PC as well. Uh, so yeah, it's just, even on the PlayStation websites, like, play style, room scale, 6 by 7, or 6 feet 7 inches by 6 feet 7 inches play area. I'm like, that is a lie. I don't know why they're stuck with that because I
yeah.
played in one chair the entire time, so I didn't
Yeah,
have to move
and
at
that
all.
might just be something that's like we really want people to do this, and if they brute force their way through, then they'll see it. But it's
The
weird.
weird part is you can't walk in the room. That's I mean, unless if you played standing. I didn't try playing standing, and then they gave you the free roam, but you only like, in game, you teleport to key spots around, like, the museum, because 'cause I'm just using that one as an example since it's the first level and I don't wanna spoil anything,
Yeah,
but you have a couple desks, you have a couple other objects you can go to, and all you do is you teleport to that spot. You have a handful of things to mess with, teleport to the next spot, and once you unlock something, you can then revisit and, try to do more. There was no need. It's not like everything is fully interactive. You're not, hunting up and down for things, opposed to, like, the seventh guest. The seventh guest would be much more accustomed to this because that one, a lot of small objects you can interact with, open a lot of cabinets, and that one was smooth walking if you wanted to the entire time. So, but yeah, having played a lot of these adventure games, I still actually got a few more in the pipeline that I've been meaning to get to. So uh,
that's good.
I recommend I recommend the Room VR, Dark Matter, more than I would say. It's probably it's maybe a 7.
Okay,
I'd say it's a 7. It's like, yeah, if you have a chance to, I'd say go ahead and give it a playthrough. If it sounds like, if adventure games, or if you like something with a slight. It's not I don't consider it scary, but something in darker tones, like a,
yeah,
uh, s creepy is maybe the best way to put it, so it's kind of neat that way. But yeah, alright. More, like I said, I've been on this VR kick, and I'm pretty much just been going hard, like, since the new year. Alright. Now, what have we been watching? Nick, why don't you kick us off?
so I have not quite finished Dune Prophecy, but I have watched 5 episodes, and I will probably watch the 6th episode at some point. Yeah, um, it's not bad. It's just sort of very standard. Everything just seems very kind of like, well, this is an HBO show, so we're gonna have some violence and we're gonna have some sex and we're gonna have some intrigue, and it's like it's not like good intrigue. It's not like intrigue that you feel like you can see or that you couldn't see coming or is really even all that interesting, you know. So it just seems to me like this whole show is a attempt to create a franchise out of Dune. Um, and I just don't really think. I mean, I just don't really think it's really made for that. I think two movies was probably enough, and now they're doing three. Um, and so it's like, okay. So they're just trying to make fetch happen. They're just trying to make something out of there's really not a lot there. So this feels like, hey, we're gonna make this thing, and if people really like it and it does gangbusters, then we'll make more. But I don't know how it ends. So maybe it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. Maybe it all wraps up very not nicely. I don't know. But my feeling is that whether or not it wraps up nicely, if this thing for some reason had been a big hit just out of the blue, which I don't, I mean, maybe it has. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But if it had, then I think they probably would have tried to, go forward with it, make more Dune stuff, and just make it just more in general. But it's just kind of ho hum. It's not really bad. It's not really good. It's just kind of whatever.
All right. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Sorry
anyway,
to hear.
I'm sorry. What?
I said sorry to hear.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be all that great, but I wanted to give it a try at least. But yeah, so that's pretty much. I mean, I'm watching some other stuff, but say that for next time. And I have been watching a little anime, so some of the stuff that you're going to talk about here in a minute, I will be able to nod my head enthusiastically to.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna give a big rundown, kind of quick about a lot of stuff that's out. There's the new season of anime. Um, there's gonna be some stuff to avoid, some stuff to that I'd recommend. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on the majority of it. I'll just give a quick, my 3 episode, 2 to 3 episode blurb about most of these. Okay. We have here. And they all have the light novel titles, or at least a lot of them do, which is annoying as get out. Um,
That's hilarious.
yeah, I know, right? All right. Even given the all right, given the worthless appraisal class, uh, I'm actually the strongest. Okay. Um, now, fantasy world, not an isekai. Okay, that's a plus, not an isekai. Uh, fantasy world where a guy gets, he's kinda like a porter for people. All he can do is do appraisal. Uh, he essentially is worthless, and people treat him like trash. Um, he then they he gets pulled into a really dangerous dungeon, uh, by the 2 people in it, like the mage and the fighter. And when things go wrong, they paralyze him and leave him for dead. Uh, and then he ends up running. Eventually, they block off the tunnel on their way out, so he can't even escape properly. He finds a new hole in the dungeon where he then decides to jump to his death. Uh, turns out he lands on a special the Yggdrasil tree, like the that once powered the whole world. Turns out that disappeared, and the smaller ones just in this bottom of this dungeon, um, where he then shows gratitude for the tree for saving his life. Turns out the tree has an actual anime girl spirit living inside of it, and she's
Of
very
course.
happy the fact that, yeah, well, like out of all the few random people who've ever come to seen her by chance, and she's saved, everyone's like gotten greedy and tried breaking branches and stealing leaves because it's the Yggdrasil tree. It's a it's a high class item, and they've died on their way out because they're like on the bottom of the dungeon. Um, but because he showed gratitude, on his way out, she asked her caretaker, who's this like high level elf, to take care to help train him and watch over him. So she then pretty much throws him to a really rough boot camp of hell, and they give him a special eye because he gets mauled by like a like an owlbear. So he loses an eye, they replace it, and they're like, yeah, now you have the ability to copy skills, and that's kind of the MacGuffin. He's like, he now can copy skills. he's being healed constantly from the tree itself because of sap or like special tree droplets. And think Goku and the sensu beans, I guess. It's the like he's about to die, or he gets the crap beat out of him. He gets healed instantly, and he's power leveling, or essentially. So yep, that's just the that one is okay. It's nothing special, but there's worse on this list. So yeah, let's go with that. Uh, so
There's worse on this
uh,
list. that sounds that sounds that sounds like another Dead Pixel episode.
so the next one is actually a little bit better. It's the daily life of middle-aged online shopper in another world. Uh, this one starts out with oh crap, I can't remember. It's the Space Odyssey opening theme, Space Odyssey 2000. I can't remember. Is it Strauss? Uh,
Um,
anyways, so it does the whole, opening theme music, and it's just like it shows a guy working in an office, drops at the office, in the hospital, and next thing you know, he's in the middle of a field, in a wooden shack with like little crops around him, and you're like, oh wow, they cut straight to the isekai part. That's quick. Um, while he's at the shack, he then gets teleported. I'm like, "Oh, okay, no." So he collapsed, he quit and then he went to the countryside, and then he gets isekai'd. Just straight up teleported. No death, just
just
teleportation.
abducted.
Um,
I did watch the
eh
first episode of this, and yeah, it's all right. It's he's a nice guy. It seems like
Yes. He gets access. His special ability is essentially Amazon shopping at his fingertips. Which isn't the first
the
manga or story that has had that a bit special power.
the wolf one,
Im
the Fenrir one, um,
there's the Fenrir one, yeah, the
the
cooking one, the
cooking. Yeah,
cooking.
yeah, cooking Fenrir. Yeah,
That one's probably the best.
yeah.
There's another one where it's another guy who does something similar, and he does all of them do. The moment you have access, you trade in spice, and then this one is like, "No, no, you can't trade in spice. There's a spice syndicate. They'll cut your knees." Like, "Okay, well, alright, he can't do spices then." Uh, anyways, the only thing about this one is uh like he at least he ends up hitting on the innkeeper, and he commits to at least spending the night with her. Like, oh wow, okay, so an isekai pro tag with a backbone. Roger that. And he's popular with the ladies. Uh, I'm like 3 episodes in right now. It's okay. Maybe I think it's 4 episodes now on that one, and it's going. Yeah, it's going all right. It's just some of the stuff is like a little nonsensical, but as these things are, uh, it's most definitely, once again, not the worst. It's actually a little bit better than, but it's still not, don't need to go out of your way for. But if you happen to want to spend some time with it, uh yeah, for sure, do that. Okay. Uh Magic Maker, How to Make Magic in Another World. This one, uh yeah, okay. Guy dies, isekais reborn into another world, um, and he apparently loves the idea of magic, finds out there's no magic in this world, so he's super bummed. He has an older sister who really likes him, and they're both kids. So, yeah, it's a weird, she plays the, like, "I'm gonna protect my little brother at all costs." Uh this one's a waste of time. Don't waste your time with it. Seriously. It's only funny to watch the beginning of episode 2, because the beginning of episode 2 explains how he dies, and how he dies is, I'm just gonna spoil it because I don't care. Um, in the beginning of the episode, it's him counting down to midnight, and then he announces that he's now a 30-year-old virgin, which now he becomes a mage because that's the joking lore in Japan. So then he immediately starts trying to cast magic in his house. Uh to failure, because obviously, and he's like, deep down, I know it, like, it wouldn't have happened, but it's like this only thing he had to look forward to in his life. Uh, so it's just like he lives a sad, pathetic life, and then he keels over due to a heart attack. He grabs his chest. He dies of a broken heart because he can't use magic. Um, I don't know. I'm 3 episodes into this one. This one's dubbed. Still not even worth that second screen interaction. Though they by episode 3, they show a goblin, which is, like, probably one of the more terrifying versions of a goblin that's ever been done in, like, anime. So it's like, alright, they do a really good job of making a goblin terrifying, but it's just I can't see this getting much better. So it is a waste of time, in my opinion. All right. Quick season 2 of Ashura. Uh, Ashura was I mentioned last time around. It's a fantasy world full of isekai people. And the idea is the Demon King died. There's no hero. They're going to hold a tournament because the person who killed the Demon Lord, um, they no one knows who it is. So they're just going to pretty much have a tournament of people, and whoever wins gets to be the declared hero. That's it. But it's really full of a lot of political intrigue, and they're just kind of different countries and different organizations are getting special powered people to bat for them, and it's kind of all over the place. Episode 1, I think it was, really did not hit with me very well because the main character was of that episode was kind of a weird samurai shampoo knockoff kind of character, like, I don't know, punk annoying kid. But the rest of the episodes then turned out really well, and yeah, I'm digging season 2. It's hard to have a consistent story because every episode is follows a new character, and eventually it's gonna culminate into them having, like, a big final battle royale tournament, winner takes all, but it's like a lot of people are trying to take each other out before they get to said tournament. So yeah, it's fascinating to say the least. Um, let's see here. Possibly the greatest alchemist of all time. 4 episodes dubbed. This one's alright. Uh, it's not gonna change the world, but it's just a cute little thing that's just okay. Um, Guy accidentally gets pulled into an isekai, because this other country is like, "Hey, we're doing something that we're not supposed to be doing, and we're gonna summon some heroes." They summon their 3 heroes, and he just happened to be, like, not even they just say he just got pulled through the universe. They don't really explain anything else. He's a bystander. And so the goddess gets angry. She seals off the passage, and she's like, "Yeah, sorry, you can't go back, but I can give you some buffs." And that's what, like you do. And she's like, "You can either be like a crafter, or you can be like a warrior fighter type." And he's like, "I'm gonna do the craft stuff." And she's like, "That's boring." Uh so but yeah, he chooses alchemy and some other stuff. Happens to run into a bunch of nice people doing a nice thing, which is funny because I think by episode 2, she's like, "Just FYI, the tutorial level is going to end now, so you're not going to have an easy time going forward." I'm like, "Oh, that's funny. That's pretty good." I'm glad they at least said he had things going a little too smooth for him. Once again, it's this is just okay. I mean, it's since it's dubbed, most definitely second screen watch for sure. I Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Okay, My Happy Marriage, season 2. There's 3 episodes dubbed right now. This one's I think Netflix is providing this one. Uh, it's a cute little romance, like, fantasy, turn of the century, like, Japan setting. In this world, there's monsters. There's, like, a military corps that fights monsters, um, a la Demon Slayer, but not the overtop animation. And, yeah, it's more or less, about the main girl. She is Cinderella, so she was mistreated. Turns out she's from a high lineage, and she was thrown away to be married to a really mean guy. Turns out the guy just like, they grow on each other. He's not a bad guy. He's not as bad as they make him out to be, but he's also super high in the military, and they just kind of come across the supernatural things as like the plots as it happens. Um, this is season 2. If you like season 1, season 2 is more of that. Um, I mean, I think I watched when I watched the Blue Lock movie, they came out with an OVA, just a little OVA, like a half hour, 45-minute, like, OVA, and I'm like, that OVA was better than that Blue Lock movie. So, yes. Okay. So I personally like it. It's more or less just a shoujo manga, I guess. It's not, like, overly lovey-dovey or nothing like that. It's just enough of a little bit of everything, and I think it's alright. Alright. Zenshu. Zenshu. 3 episodes dubbed right now. This one, this is Mappa's big one right now.
Yeah,
So, yep, this one looks amazing. Uh,
it's good.
the concept is a young animator, who's the next big up and coming thing. She's about to do her new blockbuster. She keels over, gets isekai'd, but she gets isekai'd into a trash, animated movie that she loves, and, uh, everything turns bad for the main characters, so she knows exactly what's going on. Um, she turns out she has the special ability of animating really fast and it coming to life. They do a really good, Nausicaä, Valley of the Wind, like,
Yeah,
homage at the end of episode 1.
yeah.
So,
It's it it,
yep,
it
totally
I like whenever they don't do it too much, but I like whenever they show clips and cuts from the movie that she's referencing, because it's like that that good, bad, old style of animation. Anyway, I just appreciate when they do that. So it's, but yeah, I really like this one a lot. I just started watching this one, and I've watched it mostly in English, but I did watch a little bit in Japanese. Some of the characters are a little bit more annoying in Japanese, but the main characters are still like really good in both. I just really like the lady that they have doing the main character in English a little bit more. So so I'll probably stick with that overall. But yeah, man, it's like I started watching this and I was like, why does this look so good? And then I think it was the closing credits. I saw MAPPA and I was like, oh, of course, it's Mappa. That's why. And so yeah, and I tried to look this up. I was like, I'm gonna look up the manga and read ahead. There's not. It's an original. It's an original idea from Mappa that's going straight to animation. I'm sure there'll be manga eventually, but for now, the anime is the is hot off the presses, as it were.
well, that's cool. I didn't realize it was an original animation. And yeah, it's most definitely, colorful, well animated. I find it funny because they for her power ability, they get to use canned animation again, to help, it's like it reminds me of,
Oh yeah, they
Magical
do.
Girl anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, I'm like, okay, that's canned, but daggum, does it look good? Just when she pops off with the with the thing and does the thing, and she's done
The
the
pen
thing,
yeah,
and
she slams a pencil board on a desk and it just yeah, it all appears.
it's it's
No, but
it's
it's
fantastic.
solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's she's done it all, in all three episodes. I kind of wonder if and when they're gonna kind of change that, but yeah, because it's and like the way that she you don't see her face at the beginning, like at all until the thing happens, and you're like, oh dang, they were. It's good. I this is my anime to watch for the season. It's the front runner for me for now.
Alright, then you got, the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. So, yeah, you literally take, a Sentai, Red Ranger, and he dies in combat, and then he's isekai'd into a fantasy world. It's pretty good. If you're a fan of any of the old, like the hero genre stuff, they poke fun out of a lot of it, and it's pretty awesome. They make their own like villain, and it's just his hero ability and all his gear and equipment. They just kind of go over the top with it. He's still able to transform into his Ranger Ranger form while he's in this adventuring in this other world. And when he does, he makes a pose, and explosions happen in the background. And one of the people he's with, he's like, "Why is there an explosion?" And then he takes down an enemy with a single punch, and when they fall down, they explode. He's like, he one punched that thing, and why did it explode? At one point transforms while standing next to the person, and when the explosion happens, it blows that person back. He's like, "Don't transform next to me," like, yeah, it's really stupid. It's really fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, that's totally worth it, I think. It's, in Japanese only,
Sounds
at
good.
least as of right now. 2 episodes are out. Alright. Season 2 of, The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You. Um This one
Good job.
is season 1 was surprisingly okay, like, it was surprisingly good. It was just like, you expect it to be way dumber than it is. I think he ended up with 5 girlfriends at the end of season 1. Um, and he ends up like, it looks like they at least have 4 new faces in the opening credits. So, it's nothing serious. It's just it's a comical thing that's, uh, it gets a lot of love on Reddit and stuff like that, for the actual manga. And yeah, so far it's okay. I mean, watch season 1 if you like season 1, continue with season 2, but other than that, yeah, it's alright. So now we have here, uh, Okitsura, fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I knew what she was saying. Um, so this one is literally about a kid who transfers over to, like, to Okinawa, and he can't understand the dialect. He falls for a girl, and she speaks in old, like, she's, like, more or less raised by her grandparents, or,
Mm.
like, so she speaks the old, dialect then, and so, yeah, he likes her, she has her friend likes him, and her in is the fact that, like, she gets to play translator, for him, and this is like half Okinawan tourist board industry anime. Like, we're gonna teach you all about the local stuff,
Oh, I
and we're gonna
love
also
those.
hype up and make it seem like we're the most friendly and like awesome people in the world. It's okay. I like it. It's funny. It's stupid. But it's, like, it's enduring. So for sure. Okay.
For sure.
Uh, now this one, I thought I could have sworn this one came out, but maybe it's just because I saw, like, them doing the announcement or the key animation like, a while ago, but it's called Medalist. Um, I read the first handful of manga forever ago, and this one is, real simple. A guy who is a professional ice skater, kind of is going to potentially start coaching, and he's kind of in a weird lull in his career where he's like, he's not really sure if he should continue or not. But one of his old partners, is getting him to trying to hire him to be a coach. He happens to come across a strange girl, who is almost 10 or is 10, and, you know, she doesn't really have formal training, and he essentially, through events, decides to start coaching her. It's a cute little story. He didn't start learning figure skate until he was middle school. I think is roughly what they're targeting, maybe high school. So he didn't have the early training needed, and so he was always behind. And because she's 10, instead of being like the magic age of 5, I guess is the thing they're targeting for all the kids. Um, People are looking at her like she won't be able to make it. So he's of course especially rooting for her. Um, it also is in Nagoya, which is, like, kind of our old stomping grounds.
Kind of,
So that's
yeah.
kind of
That's
I remember, like, one of the places I went, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know exactly where that temple is. So,
dang. Nagoya
uh,
Castle.
yeah, that one's in English. I'm digging it. And, like I said, it's a cute little, slice of life, like, little, not quite sports yet, but like I said, she'll meet rivals and she'll continue to do good. But all right. And the last one I'm gonna quick mention is, another English dubbed, and it's, probably one of the front runners of the year as well, is, Sakamoto Days.
Hmm.
So,
I've been watching this
Sakamoto
one as well.
Days, yeah, I mean, real simple. It's, an assassin who meets like, number 1 assassin, legendary assassin, meets a woman, and gives up the life to become a family man, has a kid, gets out of shape, and now years later, now the organization wants to end him. Like, why they waited this long, who knows, but that's what they did. Um, and it's pretty much a gag comic. Um, I think it's a Shonen Jump property. So, at first you're thinking it's gonna be grounded kind of realistically, but then by episode 2, like, jumping from rooftop to rooftop and stuff like that, you're like, "Okay, no, no, totally." Like, they're all superhuman. Okay, that's now that I understand that and laid those ground rules down. Um, but essentially this kid who idolized, Sakamoto is ordered to take him out and ends up befriending him and working with him at the family convenience store. So yeah, I don't wanna spoil too much because it is pretty funny. I like it a lot. It's an easy watch, an easy recommendation as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's
Yeah,
it's
what do you
pretty
think
good.
about it?
It's like for Sakamoto Days. Um, yeah, it's cute. To me, it seems like, or it reminds me of it's a better version of Spy Family to me. Um, I feel like Spy Family had a lot of good things going for it, and then it kind of just was like, don't really know what to do, so we're just gonna kind of do dumb stuff. So I'm hoping that Sakamoto Days doesn't run into the same problem. I heard about this, the manga years ago. There's a YouTuber that was talking about it because he really liked it. He really liked the manga, but he was worried because it wasn't in Shonen Jump. Like it wasn't one of the high voted on series in Shonen Jump. So he was worried about getting canceled. I can see that it did not. But anyway, it's somebody that I respect his opinion. So um, so I have high hopes, for it, and that it'll keep getting better. I think that it sets up things a lot better, a little bit more depth than Spy Family, and obviously it is different in a lot of ways, but still it's good so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Yeah, there's still a few more out there that are kind of heavy hitters for the season. There's still Solo Leveling and Apothecary Diary season 2. Um, Solo Leveling's only had the first episode out in English, so I don't really want to give a full thought or talk about it quite yet. The Apothecary Diaries has 3 episodes out in Japanese, but hasn't had anything out in English yet.
Okay.
So fingers crossed that they start bringing it out in English because I like the English voice cast of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's kind of like that's why I'm just kind of stepping back and waiting on those right now. Uh, and there's a few others that I had watched that I've at the current time I'm not going to really talk too much about it yet. So all right, yeah, I know it's a lot that I just spit out, but there's a
That's the anime
good
rundown.
busy season. Yeah, I feel that this season there's a couple really strong contenders, but as a whole, it's just like okay,
Yeah.
but nothing too special. It's just like I think the highs are high, everything else is just right around subpar.
I think I think if
You
you
know,
get one really good and three that was pretty good, and several that was okay, then I think that's a pretty good season. As long as you get one really where you're like, dang, that was really good, then at least you don't feel like the whole season was a waste. If you don't get that, at least even if there's a lot more, oh, that was all pretty good, it just doesn't hit the same to me.
yeah, for sure. Like I said, I've surprisingly put in way more effort this season. I think it was because last season I just there was the few that I really liked, but outside of that, I just really didn't give a lot of the extra ones attention. It just for some reason wasn't hitting the same. So I really tried putting the effort this time around. Uh, we'll see if it continues, and I'll pretty much say if I drop off. But once again, it's the worst one of this season for me is still or so far that I've mentioned is that Magic Maker one. I mean, it sucks because it's getting dubbed, and I'm like, of all the things to get dubbed, I do the Red Ranger like Isekai, do 100 Girlfriends going to be it has to be English dubbed later because the first season was. There's no reason why they wouldn't do season two. But that one, I'm like, I'm just I went ahead and started watching that in Japanese anyways. So I would like to see instead of Magic Maker, like maybe that Okinawan one, let that one be dubbed. 'Cause I would be it'd be more interesting to have them try to do uh what would they do for the Okinawa, I'm sorry, Okinawan Ben, dialect that is not being able to be understand? I'm
Mm.
like, maybe the Louisiana accent or something like that, just try to
I
have
mean,
something
Hawaiian is the easiest, like Hawaiian pigeon and stuff like that. But
I
it
suppose.
it depends because Hawaiian pigeon is different from Louisiana pigeon, which is different from like Jamaican pigeon and stuff like that. So it just depends. But it'd probably be one of those kind of islandy or bayou type things. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I always like to see how they do that, because Kansai, Osaka dialect usually gets translated to a southern draw, which makes sense to a certain point. and it was fun to see them do, Hokkaido growls, having an Uber accent, which was pretty fun.
Yeah,
So that's
that's a good.
why
That was a good
I
touch.
enjoy seeing that, them tackling those obstacles. So
Yeah, it's always
all
fun to
right.
see how they handle those things.
Okay, guys. Well, if you made it this far, we really appreciate it. I mean, this has been a little bit longer episode, and this has been ADP episode 111. All right, Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
If you're gonna give a speech, you should probably have somebody proofread it, and better yet, have somebody watch you give it, just in case you do anything that is very stupid during it.
Yeah, if you're gonna give your hearts out to people, make sure you really gesture that heart, and you know. All right. Good. Okay, guys. Thanks again, and until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.